Hi there. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our Friday live question and answer class. Each week, I take your questions about American English pronunciation and American accent. Let's start this week by looking at a couple of words that will teach us a lot about the difference between what the sounds are in a word and the letters are in a word. So I chose these words treat and threat because they sound very different, but they look pretty similar. So we have in treat the letters, the letter T, saying the T sound. And when the T is at the start of words in American English, we let out a little puff of air. It sounds like T. And then when the T is at the end, we don't let out that puff of air. Typically, we just make a stop T. So when I say treat, I don't tend to say treat with a puff of air for that last T. So the letter T at the end of treat and threat is typically the same and will follow the same rules. The letter T in threat is part of the letters TH. So in this word, threat, we have the th sound. So if I'm looking at the symbols, these symbols are the International Phonetic Alphabet. So there's one symbol for one sound. So T is straightforward. It looks like a T. But TH, you'll see here, is the theta symbol, and that makes the th sound. So that's one thing to watch out for. Of course, many of you are aware of that. Some of these things are basic, but getting some help with breaking down the sounds in the word can be really useful, especially when we look at something like the letters EA. So I do have a video lesson about letters EA, all of the different things that they typically say and word examples. You can check that out here on YouTube. Also in my Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com, I go into the vowel sounds and how they're spelled. In the most typical for EA is going to be the E sound. Excuse me. When I say E, we might think of letter E. What I'm talking about is the sound E. That's the symbol for it. And we usually spell that with EA or also with EE, like in tree. And so sometimes rewriting the word to tell yourself, oh, I know that this EA is going to be the E sound like treat, like tree, will help you. You can also pair it with another word like see the treat or a treat for me, where you know for sure what the vowel sound is. That way your brain will see this EA and think E like tree or treat. In this word, the EA says the sound. So that sound we more typically spell with just letter E, like in red. If you aren't familiar with the word threat and you're looking at it, you might think, oh, threat would make sense, right? Treat and threat. So being able to do the again, pairing it with another word like red threat or said the threat, can be helpful in knowing, okay, these letters EA are going to do this sound. Again, you can approach from looking at the vowel sounds, the E, the You can also approach from looking at the letters and how they're spelled. So treat and threat are just an example of somewhat basic everyday words where spelling can be very misleading. We have accent error patterns that come from our native language, also from sounds that are difficult. For example, the THR is difficult for a lot of people, or the TR can also be difficult. But you also have to watch out for maybe you actually can say those sounds okay, and it's actually just the way the word is spelled makes you not know for sure how to pronounce it. So eliminating the piece of how something is spelled influencing how you pronounce it, learning patterns, learning exceptions to the rules is all very helpful. Something we cover often in this class, in my Word of the Day videos, and of course also in my online courses on speechmodification.com. Okay, so let's go to your questions. Thank you. It's so nice to see you here today. First question, we have a question about iodine and iodide. So if we look at iodine, versus iodide. As far as I know, the only difference, there is the part that I just miswrote is the N versus the D. So they're both iodine. You may hear a little bit of iodine, but really that O is more of a schwa. So it's the diphthong I, like the pronoun I, and then we have I. In between the I, which is kind of more of a smiling vowel, and the which is not, we have a little bit of a gliding ya. So you don't have to do anything extra here. When I move from I to I naturally will have that glide there. But sometimes writing it in will help you kind of make sure that you get that sound. Iodine. And then for dine, iodine, we have first syllable stress. Again, another I sound. So iodine versus iodide. Challenging words for sure. Thank you. Then we have a question about stable and staples. So the patient is stable, or the horse is in the stable. Staples, there are staples in the document, or she staples the document. So here we have the B is voiced and the P is voiceless. If I was just saying, for example, big and pig, the difference is more obvious, where in big, my voice is on, in pig, my voice isn't on, and there's going to be like a puff of air coming. In staples, it's harder to hear that difference because I'm not aspirating that P. I'm not saying staples with a big puff of air. Staples, the P kind of goes right into the L. So it's an unaspirated P here. Here we do have the puff of air coming out. I think they marked that like that with the IPA. At any rate, but when I'm saying stable, or let's say stables, so they're the same, stables or stable versus staple. In stable, the rule for the vowel still follows. So if I say, for example, if the B is at the end, say we just had, we'll have stub or tub. Let's do tub and tup. So these are different in that tub and tup. The main difference is really not that I'm saying tub with a voicing or tup with a burst of air, because for stop consonants at the end, I typically don't release them. The main difference here is that the U, the vowel sound, the is longer in tub. I say tub and tup. Since this one is short, you perceive this as a P, and tub, you perceive that as a B because you hear the length of the vowel. So the same thing happens here in the middle, stable and staple. This A is going to be held longer, and this one is going to be shorter. Same vowel sound, longer duration when there's a B than when there's a P. So stable and staple. I also think that there's a little bit of voicing in stable, bull versus staple, pull. You can hear there's a little bit of aspiration happening there for me. For some people, they don't really aspirate those P's at all. So stable, staple. To make it clear, make sure you're holding the A longer in stable. So that's kind of a long-winded explanation, but I know you've asked about this before, and many people are wonder about that, kind of how do I do, what's the difference between, B in its different places, P in its different places. It's pretty subtle, but hopefully that helps you to break down those differences there. Great question. Thank you. Okay. We have a question about constantly. So the word constantly is tricky here towards the end. Letter O in constantly is vowel ah. It has first syllable stress. So when we have a stressed syllable with letter O, it's typically the ah vowel. So you would say that first part like con. And then stantly, those are both short reduced syllables with short syllables with reduced vowels. So constant, you're going to have a schwa there in the dictionary, but almost no vowel at all when you're saying it. Kind of go right from the T to the N, constant, to the second T, that is, stant. We do say this T constantly. And then we add the li syllable. So we're going to do a stop T here, constant, stunt. You're going to just make your N very short to perceive that stop T. And then finally, make sure you use your tense E on the last syllable, constantly. It's constantly difficult to say a word like constantly. Great. Okay. I'll come back to your other questions, Mahmoud, after I give some other people a turn. But thank you for all of your questions, and I should have time to return to those. We have a question. Okay, you're having some trouble with hearing, talker aware. It looks like some other people are not having difficulty. My apologies if the sound is problematic for you. Go ahead and continue to comment. Maybe come back and watch the replay if need be. You can leave your comments and questions at any point. And even if you're having bad sound, talker aware, I will cover your words later. Or I'll cover them and you can watch it later if the sound is improving. So maybe there's something issue with your internet. Okay, we have a question about think and this. So, so for think, we have the voiceless TH sound. We see that in the IPA as a theta. And then the letter N says the NG sound. So if you start with the word thing and then just add your K, you end up with think. In this, we have the voiced TH sound. The symbol is this symbol. And the same vowel with an S sound. So there's no real better way to rewrite this, just thinking about that voicing being on. So think, you should feel no vibration here. This, you should feel vibration here. What you might also notice is that even though these are the same vowel, when I say think versus this, it sounds a little bit different. That's because the ng sound tends to raise up and nasalize the vowels. So you don't have to intentionally do anything different with that vowel. You should still kind of have that th vowel. It's just that when I move into my ng, think, it's going to sound a little tenser and a little higher. You don't want to do think. It'll sound wrong. Still aim for the I vowel. It's just that you notice that in this, it's easier to be a little bit lower. There's no nasalization versus think. The vowel sounds a little bit different. It's just an artifact of the other surrounding consonants. It's not an actual change that you need to make on the vowel. Good words. Thank you for your request. Okay. Okay, we have a question about, let's go back to yours, Mahmoud, using consult as a noun and a verb. I do have a video specifically for this, so I'll redirect you to that after class. I'll put in the description for the video and in the comments links to other videos that I refer to so that you can go a little further. If I'm talking about consult, the verb, the noun consult, I have first syllable stress. So I have vowel ah again, like in your other word. What was your other word? Constantly. So consult, we have a schwa there, long, short. And then consult, the verb, the con becomes the schwa, so it sounds like kun. And then salt, we have the stress schwa, we hold that longer. So no change in the second syllable vowel. It's just that this one is very short. Consult, sorry, this one is long. Noun, short. Consult, verb, second syllable is long. Consult. And this vowel changes, the O changes between the two. Okay, so that basically explained it all. But if you want a more lengthy definition or lengthy explanation, go to the video specifically for consult and consult. Okay, let's see. looks like hopefully the issues are resolved for you as well, talker aware. We have a question about how to pronounce a bottle of water. So this is tough because there's a lot of specific things in the American accent when we're saying bottle of water. I do have a video for bottle. I do have video for of and for water, but putting it all together, let's just break it down, put all the sounds together and rewrite it in a way that might help you. So for bottle, we will have secondary stress. Our main stress in bottle of water is going to be on water. So it'll be fast, 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 slow, fast, bottle of water. The ba, bottle, has the ah vowel. Then we have a flap T and a syllabic L. So you may or may not see this schwa in the IPA. And then schwa and V. And then wa, ah. We'll have kind of a rounded ah here, another flap, and an unstressed Rewriting that, I would write it like bottle of, almost no vowel, mostly almost just a V, bottle of water. Bottle of water. Looking at how to do that TTLE in words like little, bottle, you want to just have the back of the tongue down, go almost as quickly as you can from the D to the dark L, dull, bottle of water. And then also here, kind of that flap T to the water. Practicing other words like water, other words like bottle, and then getting your of in there as well, bottle of. You can almost think of the L going on here, bottle of, kind of running those two together, bottle of water, because you really want to lengthen here. These are all going to be fast. That's why it's difficult, because it has a lot of those small differences between, in British English, it would be more like bottle of water. You're going to say those T's. It's going to just be a completely different sound. So that's also English. It's just typical American English to do these patterns with those flaps. Okay, thanks for that request. I hope that helps you. And just take it slow, break it down, and build your skills in all of those different nuances of the American accent. Okay, we have... let's go back. I'm kind of skipping around in order, so I apologize. I will come back to your request if I missed you. Last one for Mahmoud, whether or not the L is silent in Balm. So yes, I'm not saying Balm, but the L really does affect my vowel here, Balm. So in my mind, it's not exactly silent either. So I can't take ball and put an M on. Balm doesn't sound right. Balm. I do think you can close and put the L in there. You can get away with just doing balm, as long as you don't want to do balm with the ah vowel. Balm. You need to make sure you have the ah. And then kind of the hint of the L, balm. That it means that this is going to be lower, and there's kind of a little bit of a schwa, balm. It's tricky. I think I have a video for palm. And look at my videos for all. I mean, it will help you to say ball, to practice getting that dark L when you say a word like balm. But in the dictionary, I think they're probably just going to show you balm. So if it's easier to do that, that should work as well. Okay, great. Good questions, typical, difficult, and useful to talk about. Okay, we have a question for legumes and mild. So legumes, in American English, sounds like unstressed first syllable, and then gooms. letter U says the oo vowel, and then we just go right for the plural to the Z, legumes, legumes, legumes. The lay can get kind of reduced to a legume, maybe even a here. Legume, legumes. Yeah, I don't know. I'll check the dictionary in just a moment with versus lay or le. You know, the French makes me want to go more towards lay, legumes. But in American English, we might totally use a lax vowel there, legumes. And then mild, we have the I diphthong. What's tough here for a lot of people is doing the I followed by an L, mile. So I like thinking about it like mild. It's not really clearly two syllables like that, but if you make sure that you get that gliding I, because before the dark L of mild, there's a little bit of a schwa there. And so going from the I to the I, you're going to have that glide, mild, mild. You can start also, build it up from my, and then try mile, and then add your D, mild. Okay, so for legumes, let's quickly look at the dictionary. Something that I am always doing and always encouraging that, and also looking at more than one dictionary, because you may see, you can come to find a dictionary that you can rely on and trust, that you know kind of how it works, but you'll see there's more than one way to pronounce words correctly in American English. Usually I try to cover that when there's multiple ways. The dictionaries I like, typically I mostly use the online, the Oxford Learner's Dictionary. When you go to my website, you can find help for using the dictionary or other resources in our free practice area. Just click on free practice and then you'll see there's a search box here. You can type in a word, a phrase, a sound. So if I type in dictionary and I click on the search, it's going to show all of the free lessons related to using the dictionary. There's quite a few. This one has information about how to read the symbols in the dictionary. It also has a link to the online dictionary that I use the most. The reason I use on Oxford Learner's Dictionary the most is that it'll show you British and American English. So when we look up legume, it'll show us. Yeah, okay. So it does show for both British and American English, either legume. Well, they're showing legume. Okay, so that's another factor. Legume or legume. So I would say also legume without the U is a possibility, which is why I would check now myself another dictionary. So another one I like is the Learner's Dictionary. Let's see if I can pull that up quickly. That's an American dictionary from Merriam-Webster. It'll focus more on the American pronunciation as well. So let's look up legume here as well and see if they say legume. Oh, they also say legume. So that might just be something that I do in error. One more thing to check. Let's check Google. We'll check pronunciation of legume. I'll say it the new way for me, and see. Yeah, they also show it with gume. So going back, you can have a lay or a le. I would say in the dictionary, they also had the le. And then correcting my earlier pronunciation, legumes, they're showing it consistently with gu. So rather than just you, or rather than just goo, go for gu, legumes. All right, I probably will do a little more research on that to see if there are other regional differences or if I was just wrong on legume versus legume. Quite possible that I was wrong. Thank you. I learned something today as well. Thank you for that request. Okay. We have a question with the words loophole Monopole, I don't know that one, and bipolar. So for loophole, you're going to make a little break between them, loophole, to make sure that that H sound, you don't want it to be loophole. You want to make sure that H is there. So the oo in loop is a clear oo sound, loophole. In a word like loophole, a compound word, you want to have primary stress on loop, but also some stress on hole. Still has a clear vowel. So you'll see it in the dictionary with a primary stress marker and a secondary stress marker. So thinking about it like loop hole, there's really no better way to spell it. This follows typical spelling conventions. So loophole, bipolar has the main stress on this pole, bipolar. So you're still going to have some, again, maybe some secondary stress here because you have the clear I vowel. So bi. So you can think about that like this bi, and then pole, bipolar. That would look like this in the dictionary. And then monopole. Let me look that up because I'm not familiar with that word, and we already have our dictionary open. We probably won't need multiple dictionaries here. But again, that's another place where let's actually check Google first. If you don't find it in one dictionary, it might not mean that it's not a word. It just might be specific to a certain, you might need a specialized dictionary for it. All right, so like I was saying, it is monopole. The good thing about a dictionary, so that's showing the ah vowel, monopole. Google also uses inventive spelling, rewriting it in ways that follow the conventions of American spelling a little bit more. One other feature they have that I like is this opportunity to practice. So you could check and see kind of what mistakes you might make. So say I couldn't follow this monopole, and maybe I look at how that's written, and I might say, for example, I'm going to try it. I'll click practice and I'll mispronounce it. Monopole. And then it'll actually give you some feedback that I said mono instead of mono. And then it also shows me for the second error that I said no instead of monopole. So it gives you fairly good feedback compared to some. It's better than some other resources for getting feedback on your speech. Let's go back to the Oxford Learner's Dictionary because now I'm curious about what monopole means. Oh, it looks like I typed it momopole. I misspelled it with an M, typo. So monopole, yeah, it's not here in the Oxford Dictionary. So later I'll Google it and find out what the meaning is, or maybe the person who asked me can write in the meeting so that I can learn something too. So just briefly, if we're going to do loophole, bipolar, and monopole, I would write it kind of like, just like Google did. I would probably say pole. I might keep pole that way because the other way they put it like this, pole is just like bowl, another way to do ole. So you'll see in the dictionary as monopole. Pole has a stress syllable. So you'll see pole. Okay, kind of tiny there. Sorry about that. Fitting a lot on one board for your requests. Thank you. I'm learning a lot, some new words, some new pronunciations today. Great. Okay. We have a question about erupt, interrupt, disrupt, and irrupt. So I'm not sure what this one is, if that's an actual word. If it is, I'm guessing it'll be pronounced the same as erupt, like a volcano erupts. That is an a schwa, and the stress is on the rupt syllable. Stress schwa there. So it sounds like rupt. Or you can think of this also as an I, like erupt. You just want to have a reduced vowel there. Don't spend any time on it. Practice by saying rupt and then just add that vowel. Rupt, erupt. So you can hear how my vowel is very reduced. It's somewhere in the I or range. Same thing would be true here as well, I'm guessing. We can look up your word as well. But let's get to your others. So interrupt. Same thing, same stress on the rupt syllable. And then you're either going to do inner. That's pretty typical of American English to drop out that T, or you can do interrupt. So either interrupt or interrupt. Again, start with rupt and then add your unstressed syllables. And then disrupt, same thing. Stress is on the rupt. Disrupt. You're going to have the I vowel here, but keep it real short. Not much vowel. Disrupt. So let's look at erupt, your first word, to see if what it means, because I'm on a winning streak of learning some new words here. I might, after class, have to be going and looking at some other dictionaries because there is erupt in this dictionary. Oh, okay. It's just another. It seems to have a similar meaning to erupt, like a volcano erupts. This is to appear and to enter and appear suddenly in somewhere. So same pronunciation with the I. Let's look at erupt. I'm saying it with an E, which is probably not correct, but just to make a difference. So erupt with the IRR, and then erupt with the E. Yeah, same pronunciation. So as suspected, these two, erupt and erupt, similar pronunciation. I guess erupt is more explode, and erupt is coming from somewhere, but very similar meaning. Okay. Question about how to pronounce status. So in status, you hear me using the a vowel. That's pretty typical for American English to use. Letter A is very frequently the lax a. And then this would be a flap, status, where I'm going to say it more like a D. So it would sound like status or status. We're going to have a schwa here, but you could also use an I. Again, that's just that reduced vowel. But you can also use the A, status. So that would sound more like status. And I think status is probably more typical of British English. Again, we'll go back to our dictionary. But I think Americans use both status and status. I would go with status to be more typical American. Yes, and British is status. So you see there's that A vowel, and both are acceptable in American pronunciation. The difference is that status in British English, you're going to do that T, and status or status in American English, you're going to do it more with the flap, sounding more like a D. If you're in doubt, this is similar to a word like data or data. Listen to people around you if this is something you have to use at work or you're using conversation. And if you hear one or the other more than the other, it's probably more prevalent in your region to use one or the other. So, maybe if you're in Canada, you're going to hear more status than status. They might be closer to British English. East Coast might be more status, West Coast more status. I don't know that for sure about these words, but many times there's more than one correct pronunciation. You just want to make sure that people clearly understand you. So if you're using one and you feel like people don't get it, you might switch over to the other and see if that solves your problem. Or you may also have a different pronunciation difference in there. I often think that, it doesn't matter if you aren't exactly the same as other people around you, as long as they can understand you well. But if they can't, it's good to notice what's typically used in the area where you are, if it's your workplace, your town, your area of the country, your country of the world, because it's about being well understood. And of course, it's good to know and helpful to know different options, the way people do things differently in different places, but functionally for your own use, being well understood by the people you're communicating with is, of course, always my primary goal in helping you. Okay, great questions today. Thanks so much. Okay, you also asked about middle, not just status. So middle is like bottle and little, where we have a flap and then a dark L. So in these words, we spell it with TT, but in a word like middle, we spell it with DD. We do the same thing. I don't say middle with a full stop of the air. I just lift up for that flap, middle, dull. It sounds like a D, but I'm not stopping the air. I just lift up and release. So we have the I sound. In the dictionary, though, the middle is going to show it with a D. And then it's probably going to show either just an L or a schwa and an L. So thinking about it like middle, again, you're going to move quickly from the D to that dark L. I'll link after class some videos for showing you words like little, middle, bottle, how to do that flap T and dark L combination. You can also check out my videos just for the dark L, for the T and D in the middle of words, and for all of the sounds of English. I do recommend my Sounds of English course. You can get that on my website, speechmodification.com. It walks you through every sound, spelling. It's a really good foundation course for building your pronunciation for any word and using and reading the dictionary, understanding accent patterns and spelling, etc. Again, that's on my courses page on speechmodification.com. All of our courses there are either free or available for under $2, so that they're a good resource for you, easily accessible. I try to make those not cost very much so that people can use them as a good resource. Great. Okay. Welcome. It's nice to see so many of you from so many different places. We also had a question about convertible. So right along our same theme, convertible. Here we just have, instead of a flap and an L, we have a B and a syllabic L, convertible, bull. So again, we're going to kind of move quickly from that B to the dark L, almost no vowel in between, a little bit of a schwa there. Convertible is stressed on the vert syllable. So the letter O is going to be a schwa, and then the T is going to be a flap again, sounds more like a D, convertible. So all schwas all the way through, except for on my syllable, which has that tense sound, convertible. If you have trouble with the rhythm, start with the vertible, and then add your unstressed first syllable. Vertible, convertible. So you want to be very short on that C-O-N that turns to a schwa. Great question. Okay, let's see. Question about dealing with spelling mistakes. Any tips? So this is an area of weakness for me as well. I use the dictionary. I use spell checker when I'm typing. And in terms of being a non-native speaker with spelling mistakes, if that's the case for you, it might be that you're listening to how a word sounds. So if you've learned a word by listening, this is typical for kids that in schools here, we have spelling tests. Learning some of the typical rules for spelling and patterns can be very helpful, knowing that there are a lot of exceptions as well. So look for, in the words that you typically misspell, also you can keep a little running list. So I can have my big dictionary and look things up, but if I'm having to repeatedly look up words, if I keep a little list of how I spelled a word and how it's correctly spelled, I can flip through that and quickly repeat and learn and eventually correct those spelling errors. Spell check is a great tool. And for most of what we're doing, writing on a phone or writing on a computer, I definitely deploy that myself because there's spelling errors. And then also, of course, we make a lot of typos. So I do have some lessons about spelling on my website. here on YouTube and on in our courses page that can give you kind of some of the basics for spelling, particularly with vowel sounds. And then also I do have some playlists where I go through and talk about how letters can say different sounds and how sounds can be spelled with different letters. So those may help you as well from a speaking and spelling perspective. Otherwise, generally, kind of literacy and spelling, it's about a lot of memorization in the English language, unfortunately. Yeah, great question. Okay. We have a question about discretionary and revolutionary. So for discretionary, stresses on the cresh syllable, discretionary. We have then an unstressed first syllable, so it sounds like air, that we have this ARY is the air diphthong. So I would rewrite that like discretionary. And then for revolutionary, our stress is on the lu syllable. So it's revolution. You might see between the SH and the N, you might see a schwa in the dictionary for those. You see, I wrote it like shun. So again, lu, shun, revolutionary. Yeah, good words. Thank you for that request. All right. So nice to see so many of you here today. I know some of you who had some multiple requests. We didn't get to all of your words, but we're out of time for today. So if you leave your words in a comment, I can add them to my list to cover in a future Word of the Day class. Or I'll be back again next Friday with this free live class that's open to everyone. And on Sunday, I'll have a class just for our channel members. So that's another opportunity for you to come. If you'd like to join the channel to show your support, you can ask your questions at any time throughout the week, and I cover those questions every Sunday. You can also attend live on Sunday if that's works for you and ask questions then. So consider clicking the join button and learning about that. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate your support in subscribing. It shows YouTube that this is a channel to support, and it helps them show you my videos and when I'm live. You can adjust the notifications however you like, but if you've subscribed to the channel, my content will just be there in your home screen as something else you can browse through and look at. If you'd like to be notified, you click the notifications bell, and it'll tell you when I've uploaded something new or when I'm live streaming. So that'd be great. Thanks so much for being here today. This was a wonderful class with many great questions, and I learned a lot. Come back later to the replay, and you'll see I will have put some links for you for additional resources for the different topics we talked about today. Thanks, everyone, and hope to see you again tomorrow in our next Word of the Day class, Sunday in our members class, and next Friday in this live question and answer class. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.